Thomas Wright first invented the airplane, the world seems to become smaller and smaller. And airlines are now connecting people from all over the world. With the tourism industry growing, airlines are now fighting to gain market share. Air New Zealand was voted to be the best airline in 2016, and this is because you provide so good value to your customers. But in order to keep doing this, you must be able to provide lower prices. We are Career Consulting, and we are here to present how you can bolster your core to adapt for more. So currently, the market for airline is growing, and Air New Zealand wants to capture this growth while benefiting both Air New Zealand and New Zealand. Complication is that because of more competition, you're pressured to provide lower prices. So the question is how you can add value to your customers in this new competitive environment and also to the company. Our answer is to bolster the core and adapt for more. We recommend to bolster your core by launching a new tourism platform called the Kiwi Experience, and adapt for more by launching the low-cost carrier, the Kiwi Express. So we looked at how the market looks like and also the company. So I'll first take you through how we see the market that New Zealand is in. So we see that fuel prices has been decreasing. That means that the capacity of seats has been increasing, and Air New Zealand is losing market share. So because of this, it's been easier to enter the market. And we see that 5 airlines have entered into the market of flying to New Zealand. This means that Air New Zealand needs to find a way to provide lower prices to stay competitive. So looking at how your company looks like, we see that the organizational structure you have, where 52% of the organization is owned by the government, as well as the brand being so committed to New Zealand that it's important that you don't only deliver value to Air New Zealand, but also to the country of New Zealand. So this is what we've been building on in bolstering the core and adapting for more. We see the tourism industry is increasing, and actually the #1 export in Australia is tourism. So this is something you need to capture. So in order to capture tourism, Air New Zealand must bolster its brand. Now my colleague Rico will tell you how to best bolster the core.
Thank you so much. So what we recommend in order to bolster the core of Air New Zealand is to launch this new tourist platform called the Kiwi Experience. And this is to the customer how they get the most out of New Zealand. What it will have and what it will be is everything you need to buy and book when you are traveling to New Zealand. This means the guides, traveling guides, it means where you camp, to go tours, the hotels, and so on and so on. All of this will be gathered on this platform, on this website. This platform will then be made available to the existing customers when they're buying their tickets on Air New Zealand. So they will receive a link, and they will also receive a guide group, a traveling group for New Zealand. But however, it will not only be for the ones buying it, but it will be made available for everybody, because we believe this is a broad marketing initiative. And what Air New Zealand gets out of this is that you become the preferred air carrier for tourists when they go to New Zealand. In New Zealand, we receive promotion with regards to their tourist export sector. Furthermore, it will boost your sales because you are able to make product bundling here of different services that are provided on the platform. And lastly, it will improve it will give you a better advantage when you're negotiating with the relevant partners for this website. That means the hotels and so on. So with that said, I'll now hand over to Christina who will elaborate on how to communicate this Kiwi experience.
Thank you. So you currently have a very strong brand and an extremely good reputation. And the last few years that has been supported a lot by your Facebook page. Therefore we see Facebook as a great way to communicate the new Kiwi experience platform. So you should communicate out to the travelers coming to New Zealand. The way you should communicate is to use existing customers. You should reach out to them with emails, communicating what Kiwi experience is all about and how they can use it in the best way possible when they go traveling. The way you should reach out to new customers is through targeted Facebook campaigns. So currently, most of your travelers come from Australia, China, and the US. So you should focus on the major cities in those countries. So take Australia, for example. You have 42% of your travelers every year comes from Australia. So you should target your Facebook campaigns in the 5 major cities of Australia, as we see that those cities, the major cities, have the highest travel frequencies. So this is how we suggest that you bolster the core with the Kiwi experience. Now Rico will elaborate on how to adapt for more with the Kiwi Express.
Yes. So our recommendation for adapting for more is to introduce this low-cost carrier that we call the Kiwi Express. And the reason why we really do this is because we earlier saw that there is an increasing price pressure and that there are some customers who are moving from buying the high-service airline tickets that are maybe a little bit more pricey and to buying the more low-cost tickets. So if you look at Air New Zealand right now in the quadrant where you have the high service, also the high price. But you also need to have a player that can capture the low cost or the cost-conscious customers. And this is where the Kiwi Express comes into play. So the Kiwi Express will have to operate in some countries, and that's what we're going to look at now. When we look at the domestic routes, we do not see that those are under the same competition that your international routes face right now. And therefore we believe that you should start with looking at the Asia Pacific that has the highest growth right now at this moment. And here we see again that Australia is the natural place to start with, as it has 40% of all planes coming into New Zealand. This you will do in 2018, and thereafter you can then expand the Kiwi Express into the rest of first Southeast Asia and then the rest of the Asia Pacific, entering China lastly when it has developed more for low-cost carriers. Now I hand the word over to Christina, who will elaborate on how you will capture customers for the Kiwi Express.
So the Kiwi Express should be communicated through billboards. So the billboards would be campaigns that would communicate a funny message. Imagine a rugby player with a sentence underneath saying, come and explore the perks of New Zealand for only $99. We wanted to create the billboards in order to get people to talk about this new Kiwi Express and how we cater low prices. I'll now hand the word over to Jacob, who will elaborate on the impact.
Thank you very much. I'd like to roll out how we see the strategy best implemented. We see it as a two-point strategy where you should first focus on the Kiwi experience to bolster your core. This should be done immediately so that you'll be able to launch this within 2017, and while you simultaneously work on your Kiwi Express, adding 5 flights yearly until 2020. We do of course see some risk associated with this strategy, mainly the risk of cannibalization between Air New Zealand and Kiwi Express. Here it's important to note that you're going to target different customer segments, but naturally some customers will move from Air New Zealand to Kiwi Express. However, we believe that those customers would have otherwise been captured by low-cost competitors. Essentially, if you do not cannibalize a little, someone else will. As we're running short on time, I'll just briefly like to take you through the impact. We see that currently 23% of your travels are the trans-Pacific travels, where we see the Kiwi experience would be especially successful for tourists there. And for the Kiwi experience, we believe that by 2030 you could reach revenues of 7 million, and by using the
Packaging at the time.
So guys, did you consider any extension of the local network?
We looked at the local network, but we saw that most of the opportunities will lie in the medium haul routes and the long haul routes, and therefore we mainly focus on those in this strategy proposal.
Tell me why you decided to go with low-cost carrier cruising flights as opposed to a hybrid version?
The reason we went for those routes was because we see that competition is on the price side. That it's important to be able to compete on price, and that's why we went the way we did.
So we just get back on the test of the seats and suit product when you purchase a seat by stay. Would you see us unwinding from the seats to suit proposition in order to make space for the LCC? And if so, why do you think seats to suit doesn't provide as much stretch as an LCC?
We believe that that is a very good initiative that does cater to some of these problems that we also addressed. However, by launching a completely separate low-cost area, you'll be able to provide a lower price, even lower than with the current features, which are going to target even more price-conscious consumers. But no, we don't see that being rolled back. We think your current business should be react on its user.
What challenges did you discuss that might exist around the bolster the core activity, the changes that you're going to need to make that work? What challenges did you see in implementing the bolster the core strategy?
In Boston, we believe that the main challenge lies in establishing all of these partnerships that we need to open up and gather this platform. However, with your extensive network in New Zealand and with the experience you have here, the local presence, and you being the number one rated on many parameters, we believe that you will be able to overcome this and create it.
Do you have any examples of the partnerships that you were thinking about?
Yeah, we talked about one of. So the thing with the website is we want to make it easy for people traveling to New Zealand to be a tourist in New Zealand. So some of the partnerships could be shuttle buses from the airport to the hotels, or even, we know, many backpackers go to New Zealand to explore the nature, and many of them rent camper vans. So for another partnership could be Juicy Campers. It's just a few of the examples.
Do you see Kiwi Express being marketed as a completely different brand in New Zealand, or just one underneath the New Zealand brand?
We want to leverage on the brand of Air New Zealand, so it shouldn't be completely different. It has the name Kiwi Express, so you know that, or the tourists know, they can't think they get the same service as on Air New Zealand, but it's also important to know that Air New Zealand is a part of the Kiwi Express, so not as a completely different group.
And so with long flights, we've got the planes and bogies, people leaving New Zealand to go offshore, and people coming into New Zealand. Giving you an example, so China Southern is a carrier outside China, very aggressive from a pricing perspective. If we launch Kiwi Express, what makes us better placed to capture those price-sensitive customers than the likes of China Southern, which is much bigger, lower cost base compared to us in New Zealand? Why are we better placed? How can we actually win against those other LCCs?
I think that's it's a very valid point to bring forward, that you will have to compete with some of the other low-cost competitors. But this is really where you can also leverage on the connection you have with New Zealand and with this initiative that we're bringing forward by altering the core, because this will give them the complete package in terms of where they're going to find everything they need when they travel to New Zealand. But of course, the service that we see on these airplanes and the way this airline company will be run is quite different than from Air New Zealand. So I believe that with that advantage, with that competitive advantage with your routes in New Zealand, you'll be able to compete against these other low-cost carriers that you see, for example, in China or other parts of Asia.
Again, with the Kiwi experience strategy, what do you see as the change that you'd be implementing, introducing to the market, and how does that affect competition partners, etc.? Do you consider it to be a disruption, or is it more the same?
What we look at is that as tourism is increasing, when you're going to travel to New Zealand, there's all these different stops that you need to get through. By bundling those, you deliver a completely new experience to the tourists going to New Zealand. So in that sense, it would be, I guess, a disruptive.
But building on that, of course, many of the things that you are gathering is not something that's already out there. A lot of it is already out there. For example, would you take it to China, I would receive a traveling guide to the countries. There are different parts of it that are already being incorporated in different places, and also other tourist platforms. But you see it as a natural place to really gather this together with the airline tickets, because you already, when you book your ticket, you always also need to find your accommodation, you also need to find an overview of the tours and so on. All of the things really comes after you book the ticket, and that's why we see this as a natural place to gather all of these services.
Talk about marketing to new customers on Facebook. Did you think that if there might be other avenues that you could use? Did you discover other avenues for a reason?
Yeah, like we know that here in New Zealand it's extremely popular, in Australia it's extremely popular with TV commercials. So we actually thought about doing small video clips about New Zealand and the culture of New Zealand and sending them on national television in order to send out the message that we're launching the Kiwi experience.
We have a range of partnerships from alliance partners, airport partners, industry partners. Do you guys think about what we should do with our partnerships at all? Are there any changes we should think about making?
So, in order to put these partnerships, we see them as a channel for the marketing. So a lot of these, for instance, Star Alliance, they send out emails to the customers with different like travel guides and hotels they recommend, and we think that we would do, or we believe that we would do a partnership with them, and we would use them as our marketing channel. Yeah.
If you had to pick one, what would you do and why that is?
Just to clarify, one of the strategies. Yeah. I think we would go with the adaptable strategy, the low-cost carriers. That is because we see that you are in such a strong position in New Zealand, and your primary problem is because of the competition there is internationally on your international routes. We see that a lot of this comes from the pressure on the price. And that is why we identify this as the most important part to tackle. So, and this is what you do with the low-cost carrier, with the Kiwi Express. So if you have to choose one, that's the one you should go.
So commoditisation is apparent across a range of industries. Who could we look to outside of the airline industry to provide us with inspiration as we face these challenges?
With, excuse me,
So commoditisation is something that happens across a range of industries. Outside of the airline industry, who could we get inspiration from to learn from?
with a similar price rider concept, or what do you have in mind specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So we see Tiger Air. Malaysia Airlines has this cheaper airline called Tiger Air, and those we actually had in mind when we thought about launching the Kiwi Express. And because they started in the local